Hey, hi everyone. So now I've got my Ducati Diavel 2015 Dark Stealth up on the lift. Got a few small projects to do with him today, and either later on today or on the weekend I'm going to be changing out his full exhaust system for a new turning system. So the first things first, put him up on the lift. So I haven't lifted the lift up yet because we're going to do something with the levers first. Use the right terminology. So I've got him on the lift, wheel secured, got some straps on him, got him all ready to go. He's a big boy to get on the lift, so that was a bit of fun. Now, we have all had that moment where we've broken one of these guys. So this was a bit of an oopsie moment for me. It was an emergency stop, last minute saw a truck coming out from behind a blind spot. Turned the handlebars as I was stopping, otherwise I would have clipped the front of the truck with my front wheel. Couldn't catch him and he went to the ground. So I was very, very lucky. There was absolutely no damage to me. He's got no damage at all on any of his paintwork or fairing. All he's got is this guy broken and the mirror was busted, and all the mirror is just a simple bolt, so won't have to worry about that. And I've got a gear shift that has been bent in as well. Now I don't have the new gear shift, that'll be another video. But this is something that we've all battled. Now, these products for these Ducatis can cost enough, let alone taking it also down to a mechanic and having a day off with the bike just to get a lever change. So everyone should be able to change a lever. It's not very hard, it's pretty basic. 2 tools and a quick go. So I've got my T-handle. This is a size 4. That's the part that goes in the top there. And then I've got myself the good old size 10. So I'll need that because there is a little nut underneath here that you have to hold while you're doing that. And then I've got myself a second-hand OEM lever. Thank you to Woody for supplying that to me. I had a mate that used to own one of these bikes. He sold it for an ex-Diavel. Didn't need these levers anymore, so he bundled up and sent to me. Otherwise, I'd be looking at a fair chunk of money when it comes to Ducati parts. So I'm very grateful for this. And he had a pair, so now I've got a spare one for over here. Not that I intend to ever need it. So let's go with taking this off. Put our T-handle in. Now you be careful under here because there are lots of little switches. There's a micro switch under here that actually feeds down into your side stand. So that means that if you start your bike and put it into gear with the side stand down, the engine will cut. If you try and start your bike with the engine in gear and the side stand down, it won't start. So just be careful of those little levers. If worst comes to worst and you ever lose one, and I did have them both break on the Monster, you can get banjo bolt sensors and then have to completely rewire it in. Not something you really want to do if you can help it. Just be aware of what you're doing. So this was on very tight and I did just crack it beforehand, guys. Don't want to lose the nut. Okay, it just didn't want to come out. I don't think these levers have ever been changed. So next thing we've got is we have this little, I guess, actuator. Goes into the actual master, and it is sitting in, I'll get you the new one so you can see what it's actually sitting into is that little groove there. So pull that out a little bit more. So we need to get that guy out in order to swap it over, and then we can use our adjuster to actually put it back into place. So now when I got this actually was around in the wrong way, and I think I know why now, because this actually has grooves. We're going to have to take that out in order to slide it back in. This doesn't come out far enough for anything to slide into it. It would be a safety feature. So I'm going to have to pull this pin here out of the center. So this one here. Got to pull that out so we can pull this off and we can swap it around. I might even be able to be cheeky enough just to leave that whole assembly in there and just swap it around. So I'm going to press pause. I'm going to just grab a couple of bits and pieces and I'll come back and show you what I'm doing. Okay, so the little rubber boot, this is the piece that I'm trying to get out. So you can see, if I can get the camera to focus, there's this little boot that's sitting in a little cylinder that goes inside of the, it's hard to see. There we go. Okay, so that's what we're good. So the little boot came very easily out of this guy. It's actually got a little bit of grime in there, and it looks like it just locks in. So what I'm going to do now is get the pin out of this so I can take this out so I can change this all around, because this is just free moving in here. The only thing is that this doesn't come out enough for me to be able to just slide it in and out. I've got to actually take this whole piece out. So I'll be back. Okay guys, I've just brought you over to my workbench. I've got it all out. It took quite a bit of banging to get this guy out. I just used my socket and my rubber mallet in the end. So we've got a few pieces. Make sure that they're all in view. Right, so we've got a lever. There is a small spring. There is the actuator that we're trying to get out, the pin that holds it all together, and the little guy with the rubber boot that's got to go into, I know these aren't all the technical terms, but honestly these videos aren't for mechanics. These videos are for you normal people that you know, want to have a crack at this. And yeah, and I've never pulled one of these levers apart, so this is all very new to me as well. So I know the spring went into that little section there, and if you have a look in this, you can see that there is actually at the top there a spot for this spring to go into. So we just need to make sure that the spring goes into the right spot. And this is where it is a little bit of fiddling to make sure it gets into the right spot. But it all won't work real good if you don't. There we go. Spring in there. Now, try and hold that in the right spot. This little guy, he has to actually slide in, and that is the whole reason we had to pull this completely off. We've got to get it out enough to slide that in. So you can see there now, get it in close enough that it actually slides into that slot. Okay, so spring's in place, the little boot's in place. Spring does make it hard, obviously. Put the pin back in here, and then push the spring in, make sure it all lines up. And this guy doesn't just slide in very nice and neatly. That's all the banging that we had to do to get him out. I'm going to use my bench just a little bit so when I can line it up and see where it's lining up to, I'll use the bench to push it in. There we go. So push him in a little bit further. All back to how it was. That guy has the same tension. Everything's ready to go back on the bike. Okay, I'm going to pause you guys and take you back over to the bike. Okay guys, so all I've done is just line up that little rubber boot. I just pushed in. And then I tried to see if I could pull it back out so I could show you guys how it just pushed in, and it's locked in there and it doesn't want to come out, and I don't want to try and force it. So line it all back up again. Now it'll be, when we've actually put it in, we'll have to adjust it so that the lever will actually touch our sensor. You will find with some levers, I found it more so with my Monster that's beside me, that you have to actually adjust the lever to be exactly the same as the lever that you're taking off. I haven't actually seen an adjustment like that yet on this one. It is a newer bike, so I'm just going to concentrate on getting it all put back together again. Because I'm using the same actually adjuster and actuator that was already on it, it should be the same size, but I'm assuming that if I was changing all of this around, I'd have to make sure that there is a little bolt on here, that it was the exact same as the other one. So, put the pin in. It's almost all the way down, so don't forget the little nut. Should be able to finger tighten that and then just hold it with my spanner. Now I don't want to have that too insanely tight. Okay, and that is working on the actuator. So that was pretty basic changeover. I'm just going to grab the phone, show you this guy underneath. So this is the sensor that I was talking about. So that's your micro switch. Get it under there better. There's your micro switch. And you can see that it just hits that lever. When I pull the lever, it hits the switch. So when the clutch is all the way in, it is disengaging that switch. Okay, so that's the basics of changing over the clutch lever. The brake lever is actually a little bit easier than the clutch, but yeah, it's a pretty easy job. It's not that hard to give it a go. I'm going to put the bar end mirror back on now and get myself ready for this exhaust change out. So thanks guys, see you soon.